Number 10. Israel. If a third world war were to ever break out, the state of Israel probably would have the most to lose. Israel is reliant on imports for its food, fuel, and industries. In fact, water is such a hotly contested resource that the Israelis have often had to skirmish with their neighbors in order to secure reliable sources of water. Even in the best of times, Israel's been a nation on the brink of destruction. And if World War III were to ever start, the principal ally of Israel, the United States, would have much bigger problems to deal with than trying to defend a non-strategic piece of land in the Middle East. Israel is also extremely dependent on foreign aid, which is something that would almost immediately cease if its allies came under attack. This thin strip of desert land would also not be able to stand the harsh political reality of being surrounded by nations that despise Israel. These include Egypt, which has been at war with Israel 5 times, Jordan, which has been at war 3 times, Syria 5 times, Lebanon 3 times, and Palestine 8 times. These factors and more make Israel one of the worst places to be in the case of a third world war. Number 9. Russia. During the Cold War, it was widely assumed that if World War III were to ever break out, the Soviet Union would be one of the combatants. This reality hasn't changed much with the creation of modern Russia. As of this video's release, Russia is currently embroiled in 2 proxy wars against the United States in Ukraine and in Syria, and while this isn't a likely scenario, either of these conflicts could bring Russia into a war against the United States and NATO. But Russia's involvement in a game of geopolitical chess with the United States is just the tip of the iceberg. Russia is a uniquely unsafe place if a third world war were to ever break out. This is because of a Russian trigger system known as the Dead Man Switch. The Dead Man Switch is an automatic launching mechanism that is linked to every missile in Russia's nuclear arsenal. The Dead Man Switch continuously monitors Russian territory, and if a nuclear strike within Russia is detected by its seismic and radioactivity sensors, the system automatically launches every Russian ICBM in a retaliatory strike. This system is designed to operate in the event that all of Russia's leadership is wiped out in a nuclear attack. But even if Russia's leaders survive a nuclear strike, the automatic launch order from the Dead Man Switch cannot be reversed, meaning the Dead Man Switch essentially dooms the Russian populace to the ravages of nuclear war. Number 8. The United Kingdom. Thanks to the United Kingdom's alliance with the United States and NATO, it cannot be disputed that the United Kingdom would also get involved in any Third World War. But the trouble is that the United Kingdom is extremely vulnerable. The British Isles currently have a much larger population than can be supported naturally, and the United Kingdom is also a net importer of food, meaning that the inhabitants of the UK would face instant starvation if they were ever cut off from their food shipments. Also, as of this video's release, the Scottish National Party is poised to end the United Kingdom's nuclear Trident program due to its excessive costs. These attempts to disarm the UK's nuclear stockpile may be smart in peacetime, but could leave the gate open for a nuclear first strike on the UK in the unlikely event of a Third World War to occur. Number 7. China. China is tethered to the global shipping lanes, which makes its coastal trading cities prime targets for amphibious assaults, airstrikes, and even a nuclear attack. China's military relies on a massive national draft, which could theoretically raise an army of up to 7 million soldiers. Fielding an army of this enormous magnitude would come at an enormous cost to the average Chinese citizen. Even without the strain of a global conflict, China is still in danger of going into unrest. Overwhelming pollution has put China on course to exhaust its entire supply of drinking water by 2030, which is a problem that requires a massive government intervention to solve. And if China's government is weakened or destroyed during a global conflict, their problems with pollution will go unaddressed. If China does get dragged into a third world war, areas of China will likely break free the second they get a chance to, and this process will only bring great misery to China. Number 6. The United States. The United States is by far the biggest candidate for a surprise nuclear strike. In the event of a third world war, enemies of the United States could attempt a nuclear preemptive strike in order to save their own countries from nuclear annihilation. This attack would render most of the U.S. uninhabitable. Even people in the Midwest of the United States who would normally think they are safe would not be safe, because there are dozens of missile silos in this region that would be primary targets in a nuclear first strike. These silos would be targeted in the hopes of destroying the United States nuclear arsenal before it has a chance to launch. In the aftermath of a nuclear war, or even a conventional war, it is likely the United States would fracture into smaller regions, and the diverse racial and cultural groups of the United States would likely fight for dominance in the ashes. The region of Southern California alone has over 20 million people living in an area with no local sources of food or water. The Southern California's close proximity to Mexico's violent drug cartels to the south doesn't help either. If law and order were to break down during a global conflict, it is likely these cartels would ravage the southwestern United States. Number 5. Germany. Germany is bound by its NATO collective defense agreements, which means that even if a NATO member as small as Lithuania were to be attacked, Germany must go to war in defense of that nation. Germany's involvement in NATO essentially guarantees that this country would be placed on the front lines of a Third World War, making Germany an extremely unsafe place to be during a global conflict. During the Cold War, both Soviet and Western battle plans put Germany on the front lines of any future war. This reality has not changed in the 21st century, and any Third World War between Western powers and Russia and its allies would likely be decided during engagements on German soil. Number 4. South Korea. If a Third World War were to break out, it is likely that the United States would withdraw or undersupply its soldiers in the Korean Peninsula at the first opportunity, thus giving North Korea a chance to launch an invasion of South Korea while the United States is distracted. Without the United States, the South Korean army would be heavily outnumbered by the North. Any war between the North and South would cause a massive humanitarian crisis, which is something South Korea admits that it is nowhere near prepared for. In reality, though, it doesn't matter whether the North or the South of Korea attacks first. This small peninsula is guaranteed to be devastated during any conflict regardless of who the victor is. Number 3. Liberia. In 2010, Liberia was ranked as the most dependent country on foreign aid in the entire world, meaning that without foreign aid, Liberia simply cannot survive. To compound these problems, the United States is Liberia's largest financial backer. The U.S. provides Liberia with $450 million in aid each year. It is likely that in the event of a Third World War, the United States will have bigger problems to address than Liberia's financial lifeline, and it will be abruptly cut, leaving Liberians to face starvation. Number 2. The Solomon Islands. Behind Liberia, the Solomon Islands is the second most dependent country on foreign aid. Any world conflict would threaten the Solomon Islands' lifeline of foreign aid, leaving its population to suffer greatly. In addition to this economic vulnerability, the Solomon Islands is also located in a very unfortunate place. During the Second World War, the Solomon Islands was a strategic location for an airbase to threaten the populated areas of Australia and New Zealand. If a Third World War were to ever break out, it is probable that the Solomon Islands would again be fought over, and potentially be used as an airbase to threaten Australia, placing it on the front lines of any future world conflict. Number 1. Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia's massive oil reserves have been the country's greatest gift, but also its greatest curse. If a Third World War were to ever break out, it is guaranteed that as fuel became scarce, a major power would attempt to invade Saudi Arabia in order to gain control of its massive oil reserves. Saudi Arabia has a relatively small military and has relied on its alliances to keep it safe. This decision unfortunately also leaves the kingdom in a vulnerable position. The Saudi Arabian monarchy is also not the most stable institution in the world, and would likely collapse during any devastating conflict. But Saudi Arabia's problems go deeper than its assured place on the front line of a Third World War. The country is reliant on imports of food, water, consumer products, and industrial goods, which means that these critical resources would be in short supply, leading to unrest, starvation, and death. For more top lists just like these, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you want to become a super fan of top lists, hit that bell icon on mobile. Or if you're on desktop, click the gear icon and check Send Me All Notifications. It really helps us out. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you all next time.